A guy did a fun thing. Do you recall we were talking about the folly of in the climate change movement of picking the perfect temperature? I mean, what's it supposed to be?
Okay.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and a guy named Oli, no last name. His subject of his email is the perfect year. And he writes, you often ask, what is the temperature supposed to be? A few weeks ago, you asked rhetorically, what year is the most normal on record?
Mm-hmm.
And it got me thinking. Being a data guy and relatively web savvy, so that's 2 strikes ahead of me.
Right.
I headed over to the Minnesota DNR climate data website and downloaded the Minneapolis temperature record from 1900 to 2020.
Party. 1900 to 2020. Okay.
You know what, Chris? You should be very thankful that we have listeners this
That's
engaged.
a good point. You're right. That is a good point.
Very
So
cool.
he did 121 years of historical data. I know you're not a math guy, so I won't bore you with all the details, but in general, my methods were as follows. Establish monthly temperature averages for the entire data set.
Okay.
Calculate monthly averages for each individual year. Find the difference between the monthly average for each year and the monthly average for the full data set.
Okay.
Even I, so far, am understanding this.
I'm with you.
Finally, compute the annual sum of the monthly differences. For example, the January average for all years in that 121-year period is 13.7 degrees Fahrenheit. The average temperature for January 1915 was 12.6 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a 1.1 Fahrenheit departure from average.
Okay.
The full year of 1915 was 53.2 degrees Fahrenheit, different than the average year. That part he lost me.
Wait, that gets the
Once that is complete for each year, we can rank the years by the smallest annual sums of differences. This will result in giving us the years that are as closest to the average temperature. The top 10 most average years as compared to 1900-2020 full temperature record, with number 1 being the most average. The most average year was 2003.
Huh?
The second most average year was 1957.
Huh.
Third, 2008. Fourth, 1970. 5, 1938. 6, 1980. 7, 1948. 8, 1968. 9, 1960. And number 10, 2019.
You know what this tells me? This is
all
nature.
over
It's
it.
all over the map.
From this last, we can determine the least average years on record. The bottom 10 are as follows, with number 1 being the most abnormal on record. Oh, I think this guy
Abnormal.
should get an award or something. The most abnormal year
Or a
on
hobby.
record, number 1972,
A life.
followed by 2002.
Huh.
Number 8, 1900. Number 7, 1977. Number 6, 2006. Number 5, 1987. Number 4, 1917. Number 3, 1936. Number 2, 2012. And number 1, 1931.
Doing a drum roll.
This is certainly not the only way to evaluate the data, but it seems like a simple way to arrive at a reasonable value. Please have Rookie check my math to make sure it's all correct.
Looks good.
My 2001 degree from Mankato State may not be as reliable as it once was. With this data in hand, we can now fine-tune the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere until every year is exactly like 2003. Which he
Is there more?
determined was the most average year on record.
Huh.
So what he did is he took the average temperatures for each month,
Threw them all in the pot.
and he found out that the most average year, given the variables of the 12 months, was 2003. And now he's got an interesting point. If these morons really want to establish what the temperature is supposed to be, and if you like normality, then you've just got to fine tune CO2 until you get to exactly like the year 2003, which of course cannot be done.
Correct.
Which I believe would be his point. And I think that's fascinating. And it's further corroboration of why it's not folly for me to offer you the records every day, why it's not folly for me to track when my lilacs bloom,
Ice outs.
why it's not folly for me to track ice outs. It's we're being sold a bill of goods by the hysterians who are Greta Thunberg, by the way, in case you were ever doubting it, has come out full blown now. Not that she should be given any more than 30 seconds of my time. Full blown against capitalism.
Oh, okay.
Which is what this always has been about. It has nothing to do with the temperature
or the environment.
It's always been about that. And she's finally taking her veil off and saying, I'm against capitalism, because capitalism apparently would be the root cause of not knowing what the temperature is.
But the report that you have there,
I think it's an excellent report, and it's going on the Garage Logic Bulletin Board Hall of Fame.
May I see that
you
email
mentioned
very quickly?
You mentioned the word fantastic, and not only is it fantastic, but I'm just so excited, and I really can't think of anyone that I need to share that information with. Nobody comes to mind. Nobody. I wish I had someone to share that with.
Well, you share it with in your pushbacking exercises.
So I need to point out a couple of things. Or sorry, Rick,
In
go
order
on.
to share it, I would have had to pay attention to what you
Well,
were
I
saying.
did.
The math is good.
I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, I guarantee I went to school with this person because we both had graduation dates at Mankato State the same year. Secondly, I hate to be the one to point this out, Oli, but you did include your name, which leads me to believe that this person did this at work and doesn't want their boss to find out that that's what they spent the day
sure.
doing yesterday.
Well, I don't care how it was done. I'm just pleased with it. It just seems entirely instinctively natural to believe this.
Go Mavs, by
I
the
think
way.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The most normal year we've ever had was 2003.
What happened in 2003?
Did you
I
feel
looked that
normal
up.
that year? Were you
And the
normal?
least abnormal year we ever had was 1972.
I wasn't around.
And I bet 1972 was abnormal because of its undue chilliness. I remember the early 70s. They were chilly.
Interesting.
The whole year.
Uh-huh.
Like July, you needed a
I
snowsuit.
never learned. This.
Historical events for the year 2003. Turkish Airlines Flight 634 crashes.
Matt, that has nothing to do with
That's like not normal.
that was an abnormal situation.
The Space Shuttle Columbia.
I've never learned my lesson. You know, I get excited about these things, and I bring them in, and I set myself up for great mockery and disdain, and it hurts me. If you prick me, do I not bleed?
Sometimes.
Most of the time.
If I what you?
Now I can get to something I was wanting to get to
I don't know, a berry.
yesterday, but I was